The creatures of the United Justice Movement had overcome many trials, but their victory was not an end, it was a beginning. As they looked out across their flourishing land, they realized that their story, though triumphant, was just one chapter in a greater tale. Beyond the hills, in lands they had never traveled, there were other creatures, some thriving, some struggling, and some who had never even dared to dream of a world free from oppression. The movement's next step was clear. It must grow, reaching beyond its borders to inspire and uplift others. The spider, ever the weaver, was the first to speak. If we wish to help others, we must build connections, not walls. Our web must stretch beyond what we know. The eagle, scanning the distant lands, nodded in agreement. There are voices out there waiting to be heard. We must invite them to share their stories, to teach us as we teach them. And so the creatures began to weave bridges of connection. They sent out messengers, the swift cheetah, the diligent ant, and even the glowing firefly, to find others who shared their vision of a just and united world. As the messengers ventured beyond their borders, they found a world both diverse and familiar. In one distant valley, they met the cranes, who danced gracefully under the moonlight, but whose feathers had grown heavy under the weight of inequity. In a distant forest, they found the foxes, clever and resourceful, but isolated by mistrust and division. And in the mountains, they encountered the bears, powerful and protective, but burdened by battles they fought alone. The messengers spoke of the United Justice Movement, of how the creatures had come together to overcome fear, division, and apathy. But more importantly, they listened to the stories of those they met. The cranes spoke of beauty stifled by injustice. The foxes shared tales of wisdom lost to isolation, and the bears roared of their struggles to protect their kin. From every land, the messengers brought back lessons, enriching the movement with new perspectives. As the United Justice Movement expanded, it faced new challenges. With new voices came new ideas, and not all of them aligned perfectly. The creatures found themselves in debates, how to balance tradition with innovation, how to include everyone while staying true to their core values. The owl, perched high in a tree, reminded them, growth is not without conflict. But remember, the strength of our movement lies in our ability to listen, to learn, and to find common ground. The creatures realized that their journey wasn't just about spreading their message, it was about adapting, growing into something bigger and stronger than they had ever imagined. With the movement now spanning lands far and wide, the creatures knew they had to think about the generations that would come after them. The turtle, slow but wise, spoke. We must plant seeds, not just for today but for tomorrow. The creatures began to build systems that would ensure their progress was lasting. They created schools where the young could learn the lessons of unity and justice. They established councils where all creatures could share their voices and make decisions together. And they honored the stories, recording them so that no creature would ever forget the battles they had fought and the victories they had won. But even as the movement grew, the creatures knew they could never become complacent. From time to time, whispers of the old shadows would return, the fog of misinformation, the chains of division, and the shadow of apathy. This time, however, the creatures were ready. They had faced these challenges before, and they had learned that the fight against injustice was never truly over. They stood vigilant, ready to face whatever came their way, knowing that their unity was their greatest weapon. One day the firefly, its glow brighter than ever, turned to the other creatures. We have come so far, it said, but the horizon always stretches further. What lies beyond it? The eagle, soaring high, replied, the horizon is endless, our journey is infinite. Each step we take reveals new challenges, new opportunities, and new ways to grow. The creatures realized that the movement was not a destination, but a living, breathing force. It would evolve with each generation, shaped by the voices of those who carried it forward. And so the United Justice Movement continued, not as a static entity, but as a spirit that lived in every creature who dared to dream of a better world. Its story was told in the rustling of the leaves, the flow of the rivers, and the songs of the wind. It was a story of hope, of struggle, and of triumph. The storyteller closed their book and smiled. This is not the end of the tale, they said. For the story of the United Justice Movement is eternal. It lives in every act of kindness, every moment of courage, and every spark of hope. It lives in you. The firefly's light flickered, the spider's web shimmered, and the creatures, united as one, looked to the horizon, ready for whatever came next. The end? No, this is where the next chapter begins, with you. The story continues always. Will you write the next page?